All right, we are live and rocking. Week 3 of Creativity Mindset Mastery. Reawaken my creative spark. So, as usual, I am being the tech guy and everything here. I'm just about to publish this. So once I publish this, all you need to do is be refreshing your page, and this should be coming live, coming at you. All right, so that's refreshed now. We are all good to go. Let me hit refresh on this and see if it's working. So welcome to the third week of this these hangouts, these coaching sessions. I'm absolutely pumped again for this week. This is a great topic. I've done a stack of research on this in the past. I've taught this in courses in coaching. I've implemented this in my own practice, and it's a really important piece to getting your creative practice up and running, having it consistent, and learning how to take your creative practice and make it the number one thing in your life, or at least way up there, 1, 2, or 3, balancing with a couple of other things. So looks like we're live. If you're in here, please give us a shout out. Jump into the chat box and say g'day. So just type in your name. I guess your name comes up, but type in your name and what you do. Just say hi. Tell me something that you did today. I was moving house today all day, so I've been frantically driving around, packing boxes, doing things, but I made sure that I came back, that I was home in time to do this, so that I can share this stuff with you, because this is cool stuff. So hi to Angelique. She's here. She's ready to rock. That's exciting stuff. So I think I'm not going to really dilly-dally too much in this session. Thank you all so much for sending your questions through. Some awesome questions. You guys are really amazing. Some really insightful, specific questions, and that's really helpful. Makes putting the session together really, really. I become more confident in the content that I end up creating, knowing that it's going to help you as much as possible. So that's really what I want to do. I want to make these sessions as specific to you as possible in a group coaching context. And one thing to say about that is usually common questions come up, and a general question that comes through ends up helping a lot of other people. And when you ask me a question, often someone else is thinking the same thing, or having the same issue or the same struggle. So if you think of a question throughout this session, chuck it into the chat box, because there's a really good chance that someone else is thinking the same thing, but they're just not asking for some reason. So all right, I think I'm going to crank up this presentation. And I learned a great lesson last week when the session, when we had that glitch. So this week I've printed out most of this session. So it's all here. In case we have another glitch, I'm going to be good to go. I'm going to fire on. So welcome to Naria, to Kylie, to Anne-Marie. Thank you all for being here on time, nice and early, ready to rock. The rest of you, as you jump on, just say hi in the chat box so I know who's here. All right. So let me see. I'm going to just, I'm going to close this. I'm going to fire this up. And then, where do we go? We go here. I'm going to share my screen with you all now so that we can start this presentation. All right, cool. So hopefully you can all see this. Please do me a favor, if you can see this as I'm talking now, you should be able to see the presentation. So please do me a favor and let me know that you can see this. I just want to be sure before I kind of kick off that you can definitely see it and that the presentation's all cool and that I'm able to kind of flick between them. That's what I want to be doing. So yeah, let me know. I'm going to kick off, but yeah, let me know if you can see it. That'd be handy. Okay, cool. So here we go. Welcome to the ReAWAKEN My Creative Spark online group coaching session. This is week number 3 of 5. So, you know, we're more than halfway through these sessions at the moment. I hope you're getting, you know, heaps of great benefit out of this. I am getting some awesome feedback from people having some really good breakthroughs in their creative practice, some good realizations, getting pretty excited about getting back into doing their thing. So that is awesome. So yeah, this week is going to be mainly these 3 topics. I'm going to kind of jump into a few other things, but habits, creative habits, daily practice, and prioritizing. So prioritizing was the thing that really popped out this week in the questions. So thanks again for sending those through, because I ended up pulling together a whole bunch of things so that I could make this presentation really powerful about prioritizing, because it's so important and it's something no one teaches us, you know. So hopefully I'm going to teach you, and hopefully you'll get it, and hopefully you can use it, and your creative practice takes off. So all right, I'm just going to check back in here to make sure people can see it. Okay, it looks like it is coming up. So awesome. I'll carry on. Okay, so thank you for making time to be here. This is really important. I put this in every time. There are a couple of things about you making time to be here, and I've mentioned it before. What you're doing by being here is you're making time for your creative work. So this might not be you know, literally you doing your creative work, but you're making time to advance in your creative practice. So it seems like maybe it's a small thing, but I want to explain why that's such a powerful thing. There's a lot of non-verbal acknowledgement that happens when you turn up and you give time to something. So time is everybody's most precious resource, and that's why I'm going to get into prioritizing later, because one of the first things that creatives say is, I don't have enough time. So your time is really precious, and by you showing up here, you are telling your subconscious mind and you're telling the universe that this thing is important, that it carries weight. So I really want to acknowledge you for that, for showing up, for being here. You know, here comes your first high five of the evening just for being here. Cool. So, and again, thank you for sending through your thoughtful and insightful questions. Really, really helpful and important on a few levels as well. It really helps you to get clear about maybe what you're struggling with when it comes to this topic. So it's just an added process for you to go through to get more benefit out of it. All right, so 100% participation for the win. So this is really important. If I ask to chuck something into the chat box, please take the action. So think about what I've asked. If you need to, write it down on a bit of paper and then type it into the chat box. So don't be afraid to chuck stuff into the chat box. You're not going to be judged by anyone. The only thing that's going to happen is you're probably going to add some value to this conversation. Someone else can get a benefit from your question or your comment. So please get involved, and you'll learn stacks more by doing that too, by engaging in it. So yeah, say hi and tell me what you do in the chat box. All right, I'd like to do a quick review of last week and the task. So actually, it's mainly really the task that I set at the end of last week's session. So how did you go finishing your creative vision? Did you write out your version of it? Did you do the recording? Did you listen to it each morning? What did you learn from doing that process? So if you did all of that stuff, even if you didn't do it, just let me know you didn't do it. If you did it, then awesome, well done. And please let me know in the chat box what might have happened during that process. Did you get any benefit out of it? Did you struggle to do it? Just let me know anything that kind of went on for you as part of that process. So yeah, what was the best thing you got from last week's topic? Did you have any aha moments, any breakthrough kind of things? Please share that as well. And yeah, that would be great. So let's carry on. All right. Yes, just another thing about the chat box. So please either write your questions in the chat box as they come up in your mind throughout the session, and then I'll either answer them as we go along or I'll return to them at the end of the session. So it's better to chuck them in there so that you don't forget what they are, and then, you know, we move out without doing it. All right, so it says week 2 worksheet there, should be week 3, but hopefully you've downloaded it, you've printed it, and we're going to fill that out as we go. All right, so what's in this session? So I'm going to talk about why good habits are really vital to your creative practice. I'm going to explain what a creative habit really is, what it means, how habits work. I'm going to teach you a creative habit hack. This is like a brain hack when it comes to creative habits. I'm going to talk quite a bit about daily practice. I'm going to tell you the Chinese bamboo story. So a few people might have heard this. So I think Angelique might have heard this, but quite a long time ago. So it might be time for a review. I'm going to give you 11 daily practice tools and tips. I'm going to teach you about how to get your priorities straight. Really, really important. And then we're going to return to some questions at the end. All right. So who the heck is Mio Biskin? Very briefly, there are a couple of new people to this session. So welcome to this Reawaken Your Creative Spark sessions. Very quickly, I don't want to bail this up too much with my story, but my name's Mio. I'm a singer and a songwriter. I've done lots of touring around the world, played with awesome people, love my art practice, but for a long time I really struggled with it. And then I basically went out on a mission to learn what stops creative people from really pursuing the thing they love. And it was an unexpected journey that took me about 2 years and cost me over $20,000 to learn. I went all over the world actually to learn a lot of this stuff. So yeah, a lot of this content is really, really valuable, and I had to go searching far and wide for it. So yeah, please integrate as much of this stuff as possible. So yeah, that's kind of who I am. And these days I'm an active musician. I'm recording an album at the moment, but I also teach other creatives how to get the potential out of their creative practice. And this has really become a part of my mission in life, really, is to help other artists have a kick-ass creative practice. All right, so why are my habits so important to the success of my creative practice? So there's an awesome Aristotle quote which says, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit." So this is really important. I'm going to kind of keep hammering this home in this session, that excellence is a habit, success is a habit, having a strong creative practice is a habit, being confident is a habit. So these are habitual ways of thinking and acting in the world. So what is a habit? So the dictionary definition is that a habit is a recurrent, often unconscious pattern of behavior that is acquired through frequent repetition. That part is really important, frequent repetition. So I try to simplify it by saying it's an action which occurs without much conscious decision making. So it's kind of becomes your automatic way of behaving in the world. So another term for it is automaticity. So that is basically, people will know this from automatic things that you do, like when you get out of the car and you automatically turn around and lock the car, but you never think about doing that. After a while, it becomes like an automatic behavior. That's kind of where we want to get your creative practice to, is that the thought of doing your creative practice becomes a natural thought pattern for you. So when you either, hop out of bed, one of the first things you think of doing is your creative practice, like whether that's journaling or doing some drawing or whatever. Or whenever you have a spare moment, it will be a thing that naturally comes to mind, doing your art practice, where at the moment, many people's habits is to pull out their phone and go straight to Twitter or straight to Facebook or a different website or whatever. So that's a habit. Maybe you can think of a habit that you have like that at the moment, where you jump on a train or you have like some downtime. And what's the first thing that you go to? Some people will watch TV or grab a DVD or go to a website that they always visit, or YouTube, whatever it might be. So just think about what your path of least resistance at the moment is. So that should be a little insight for you right there. So basically, we want to start to replace that automatic response with a response where you want to do your creative work. All right, so the role of habits in our lives. So habits play an enormous role in our lives. So unless you went traveling recently or had a substantial life-changing event, so if things have just been pretty normal for you lately, then about 95% of each of your days and weeks has been about the same. So if you just kind of run your mind through the last month, let's just say, you probably wore the same kind of clothes, ate the same kind of food, you went to the same, 4 or 5 favorite restaurants, you took the same path to work, you visited the same websites, you chatted with the same people, you lived in the same place, you engaged in the same types of entertainment, same music, same friends and conversations. And the thing to remember is this is totally normal, and I'm going to explain a bit more about that. But what your mind is trying to do is it's trying to keep you in your comfort zone. That's why we do the same things over and over and over. And the way that our brain has evolved, it's evolved to keep us safe, secure, for life to be quite predictable, and for us not to do too many things which are challenging or confronting or make us quite vulnerable. So in this image, you'll see this little circle over here, which is your comfort zone. So this is where 95% of everything we do exists. Could be even more. Could be, could be 99% or 100% of everything we do each week and month. We're living in that comfort zone. And then you'll see outside of that comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. So that's where actually your art happens. That's where innovation happens, new ideas, creativity, taking risks, trying new things. Even, what you're doing right now, being on an online, webinar hangout thing, this might be a really new thing for you. So that's awesome. You're doing one thing that's kind of new and maybe a little bit out of your comfort zone if you're not used to technology. But that circle that says where the magic happens, in the courses that I run, I basically call that your art zone. So there's your comfort zone, and then there's your art zone. And a daily practice is something that's going to help you gently move outside of that comfort zone. So it's nothing drastic, but it's kind of just, chipping at the edges a little bit to push that comfort zone out. All right. So you are your habits. So create ones that support your vision. So this is a really important concept that a lot of creative people, I think they resist this idea. But I think understanding it is really, really, really important to basically accept that this is the way that our brain has evolved. And later when I teach you the hack, you'll see that we can actually use it to our benefit. So you are your habits. So what I most want to impress upon you in this session is that your everyday behaviors are made up of bundles of habits that you've accumulated over your lifetime that have worked for you. And when I say worked for you, I mean that they've kept you in your comfort zone, they've kept you safe, they've kept you within the good graces of people around you that matter to you, family, friends, work colleagues, whatever it might be. So, and that's exactly what your comfort zone is supposed to do for you. It's supposed to keep you safe. So, but they've kept you safe at the cost of your creative expansion. So this is something I really want to drive home with you, is that basically your habits unfold every day and that becomes your day. So we are our habits. What you do each day is often simply a rolling out of your habitual programming. So an example is you might get up, make a coffee, eat toast. Sometimes it might be muesli. You'll have a shower, brush your teeth, shave if it's Monday or Thursday, get dressed, pack some food, head out the door, check that website, check Facebook, leave at the same time every morning, catch that same train, go to that same place, talk to those same people, have those same conversations, eat at one of the 4 places you get lunch from, do the same work I usually do, or work on that thing I've been working on for a while. So if I kind of look at this, I kind of start to see this like a computer program. So we kind of do one thing and then we just automatically, with automaticity, we move to the next thing. It's our programming. It's comfortable for us. We know where to go next. We know what to do next. And that gives us a lot of stability and security. And as humans, we really, really desire that. We really need that to function properly. So let's move on. So as an artist, you want to think outside the box and be creative. But for a lot of people, they wake up in a box room, so in your bedroom, they walk to another box in their house, they open the cold box, they eat from a box, they travel to work in a box, they sit in an office box, they look at a box, they check their inbox, they have lunch from a lunch box, they go home in their box, they watch the box, and then they numb themselves with something from a cylinder, and then they go to sleep again in their box, only to wake and do it all again in another box on their calendar. So another day on their calendar. So, so we do all of that and we wonder why it's really challenging for us to think outside the box. Why is it so challenging for us to come up with new ideas? And it's really just this programming of, keeping things the same. So here comes the creative habit brain hack. So if you believe that you are run by habits, which I believe is very true, then let's create a program that automatically plays out in a way which you are destined to become successful or fulfilled in your art practice. So if you just think for a moment, okay, what would a program be where the end result would naturally be that I became more successful or happy in my art practice? So someone with no creative habits will naturally struggle in their art. So it might be a good time to think now, like, okay, do I have any creative habits? Do I have any kind of natural tendencies to do my creative work where I don't really have to think about it or push myself? So someone with positive habits that align with their vision will naturally realize their vision. So going back to last week where you created a vision for yourself, this week we're going to work out some habits that will align with that vision, that will naturally move you to that vision. So when you design the program to help you in your art, that becomes what the program will create for you. So I know I'm kind of talking in some robotic terms, and I'm actually going to talk a little bit about some brain science right now, but don't let that scare you. This is just some background stuff to keep in mind to help you in your art practice. Okay, so I had a great question from Sam this week, which was not just about how do you create new habits, but how do you let go of old ones? So this image explains something about neuroplasticity. So this is a term, many people are aware of this term these days, but you can actually change your brain and you can change the way it functions and you can change your thought patterns and things like that. So I'm going to explain how that works right now. So you'll see that there's an image there of a cell body. So this is a brain cell, and that brain cell reaches out to other brain cells. And you'll see at the bottom left, there's the yellow part in the middle, and that's the axon. That's where the pulses of information go through. And then around that is something called a myelin sheath. So I'll give you the example of a baby. When a baby's brain is developing, it looks like that one on the left. And as it's trying to learn something, say it's trying to reach up and touch something that's, you know, hanging above its head like a little mobile. And as it's trying to do it, it can't quite do it. And then the first time that its hand touches the mobile, an impulse will run through their brain. So it will start to create a neuro pathway, but it's very, very tenuous. It's almost non-existent, but it's just there. And then what the baby will do, it'll reach up again, and using that neuro pathway, and it will touch it again, and it will send another pulse down it. Once it continues to do that, it goes from that image on the left to the right. So this myelin sheath starts to coat the axon. And what the myelin sheath does is it assists the travel of that impulse through your brain cells. So this is, you're basically looking at the way that a habit is formed in your mind. It becomes the path of least resistance when it comes to your thinking and the impulses in your brain. So this is a really powerful thing. And I know it's a bit nerdy and a bit, neuroscience-y, but I feel that understanding this starts to help understand habits in a more tactile kind of sense, like actually knowing what's going on rather than habits being a, ethereal kind of concept that you can't quite grab. So this is what's happening when you create a new habit. So as far as letting go of old ones, what happens is once this becomes your default way of operating, it becomes like a super highway, and your brain, the pulses are going through this channel more than your previous habits. And it's like when a new highway goes in, all of the country roads sort of, people don't tend to them anymore, and they start to disintegrate, and then eventually, not many people go down them. It's similar with your thought pattern. So once you create this super highway of a habit, then your old habits start to drop away. So I hope that was a good explanation of that. Okay, so people often ask, how long does it take to create a habit? So there is an old myth going around that 21 days makes a habit. That's actually not true. That came from quite an old study of a doctor who was trying to initiate new habits in his patient, and he kind of came up with that number. He did some research, but kind of came up with a rough thing. The most recent research shows that it's actually roughly 66 days to create a new habit. So it's give or take, depending on the type of habit you're creating. So some people were trying to create the habit of having a bottle of water with their lunch. Other people were creating habits of an exercise regime, and that took a little bit longer. But what I notice definitely when I do coaching with people is that the first 4 weeks are a little bit of a struggle. It gets better and better very quickly. After like the first 1 or 2 weeks, the daily practice starts to become more consistent. And then after about 8 weeks, it's almost like a no-brainer. It becomes like something I very rarely end up asking about after about 8 weeks. I don't have to ask the question very much anymore, like, did you do your daily practice? Because the answer is usually like, yeah, of course I did it. Because it's become such a strong habit. And this is where I would love to see you get to in your creative practice. It takes some perseverance, but I'm going to help you with that later. All right. So what's the best way of developing supportive creative habits? So this session is going super quick. I'm trying to get through as much as I can as I'm doing this. Yeah, I also don't want to just overload your brain. So I just wanted to check out the chat box. There are some awesome people in here. Who else is in here? Who have we got? I just want to say hi to Bernadette. Excellent. Great to see you here, Bernadette. I'm really glad you made it. Elise. Who else have we got? All right, that's it at the moment. So anyone else who's watching this, please jump into the chat box and say g'day. I'd love to chat with you and see how you're doing. So, all right, sounds like some people are getting some stuff out of this. 66 days. It is great to know. It is excellent to know. All right, cool. So let's jump back into it. All right. So hopefully you can take a breather now. Take a sip of water. Take a stretch or something, and then we're going to power on through. Still got stacks to get through. So if you don't mind, I'm going to charge through this, and then please, as I'm charging through it, if there are things that you feel I'm skipping over or something, please leave me a comment in the chat box or in the comment section below so that I can help you out with this thing. All right, so what's the best way of developing supportive creative habits? Are you curious? I'm not doing this to build up anticipation, but I hope that you're super curious, because here it is. Daily practice. So this either kind of makes you go, oh, cool, or that sounds simple, or you go, oh no, daily practice, I don't want to practice every day, which is an interesting thought pattern you might want to check out. So this is Haruki Murakami, who's an incredible writer. If you're not familiar with his work, please check it out. There's this great quote. So I keep to this routine every day without variation. The repetition itself becomes the important thing. It's a form of mesmerism. I mesmerize myself to reach a deeper state of mind. So it's a really awesome quote. Okay, so I like to give a couple of daily practice examples of, successful, well-known creators. So Leonard Cohen, he used to do consistently 5 hours of writing per day. Nick Cave is very well known for going to his studio basically 9 to 5 each weekday. Similarly with Philip Glass, the composer, he works a regular 9 to 5 work week. I know he has a studio within his house, so he just walks into there and he just works a regular day. Tom Waits, he went through a period of writing a song per day, so that became like a daily practice ritual for him. I'm going to skip to Stephen King. Stephen King writes 2,000 words every day, even when he goes on vacation. So that might seem a bit extreme, but I think, when the habit becomes that strong, it almost turns into a compulsion. So in my eyes, a really positive compulsion to, express yourself through your writing. So that's a pretty deep habit there. Jerry Seinfeld would write 1 joke per day. So I'll get into kind of how you structure a daily practice. But the story with Jerry Seinfeld, he had this phrase where he would say, don't break the chain. And what he meant is a young comic came up to him and said, how do I get better as a comedian? And he said, okay, write a joke every day and don't break the chain, meaning don't miss a day. So he said, get a calendar, and then on the 1st of August, write a joke that day and just put a big cross on the calendar or a big tick. And then the next day, write a joke, tick it on the calendar next day. And what you want to do is create a chain as long as possible. So you want to try and get it to 5 in a row. And then if you don't write a joke that day, then you want to try and the next time to get to 6 or 7 or 8, 10. So Jerry Seinfeld, very well known for being a hilarious person, one of the most successful comedians of all time, had a daily practice. That's the way you do it. Okay, so the benefits of a daily practice. I wrote this out the other day and I actually surprised myself at actually how powerful a daily practice is. I'm convinced that it is one of the easiest and most powerful things you can do to push your creative practice forward. So here's why. It builds self-trust. So I've been getting a lot of questions about trust and confidence, creative confidence, and I'm actually going to talk more in detail about that next week. But I'm going to briefly say here that when you do a daily practice and when you practice 10 days in a row, something happens in yourself where you start to believe that you can do this. So I'm going to leave it there for now, but basically it's an excellent way to build your creative confidence. The next thing is it breaks down the fear of the blank page, the canvas, or idea. So when you show up every day and you do a little bit of creative work, basically the inner critic starts to say less and less and less as you go on. It becomes such a normal thing that it really starts to erode this fear of turning up to the blank page or canvas. Okay, build the habit. So this is really important. The habit is more important than the amount you do. So someone also asked this great question about how much practice should I be doing either each day or each week? Is it better if I do a little bit each day, or should I do 3 hours on Monday and 3 hours on Thursday? The answer is it's far more effective to do a little bit each day. So my guitar teacher would tell me when I was a teenager, he would say, all you need to do is 20 minutes of practice a day. And I would not do any of that. And then, the day before my next lesson, I'd be cramming, trying to, do an hour of practice. And it just doesn't work. And I think we all know that. For long-term cultivation of skill, a little bit each day is the best thing. The important thing here is the habit is more important than the amount. So I'm going to get into that a little bit later. So we're going to start off with a small amount of a daily practice because I'm more interested in the habit than the amount that you're doing. All right. Consistent practice and engagement gives the tactile experience of progress and achievement. So when you're showing up every day, it starts to basically convince your mind that you are achieving things, you are doing things, you're engaged in your creative practice, you're kind of stepping into your role as an artist, as a creative person. And there's a lot of fulfillment that comes from that. And it actually becomes quite motivating. All right, so it removes the guilt of not doing enough. So most artists kind of suffer from this, like, oh, I'm not practicing enough. When you're practicing every day, you're definitely practicing enough. So it gets rid of that one. Created the habit of showing up even when you don't feel like it. So this is also huge. A lot of creatives say, I just don't feel like it. I don't think I should, do my creative work if I don't feel like it. I want to feel in the flow, man. I want to, it needs to be really easy and, effortless, or, I'm struggling. I shouldn't be struggling. It should be easy. So lots of the time it's going to be easy and it's going to be fun and it's going to be flow, but sometimes it's not. And it's really important to create the habit of showing up even when you don't feel like it. Because usually what happens is 3 minutes into doing it, you're actually loving it. So it's really important to get over that hurdle of doing it even when you don't feel like it. So that is a trait that many successful people have. And it's literally the definition of discipline. So discipline is often described as doing something whether you feel like it or not. And generally doing it knowing that it's part of a bigger goal. All right, cool. So there's more coming. So the most time-effective way to accelerate your creative skills rather than massive blocks of time that are far apart. So I explained that daily consistency is better than 2 blocks of time. It builds a natural momentum. I also kind of touched on that once you get into your daily practice, even if it's 5 minutes, it would generally create a momentum of carrying you forward, and usually you'll want to keep doing it. Okay, creates a preference or tendency for action. So this is about creating a habit of taking action. So this is, if you remember from the first session, I talked about thoughts lead to feelings, lead to action, lead to your results. Lots of people fall down at action because it's not a habit. So a daily practice really creates a preference for taking action, becomes a default way of thinking and operating. Okay, so it teaches you to let go of outcomes and self-judgment. That's really important. Teaches you to organize your time effectively and to prioritize your art, which we'll come to. You reinforce to yourself that this is meaningful and important work. And more importantly, it reinforces it to your subconscious mind, which is extremely powerful, as we know. Okay. So where I want to start with this is the artist identity. So this is really powerful. This is a psychological concept about identity. And one thing is that you will always conform to your identity of yourself. So almost all actions and behaviors spring from your identity of who you are and what you do. So the concept of, I'm an artist and this is what I do, or I'm a football player and so I do this with my group of friends, or I'm an accountant, so I do this and I go to this place and I wear this kind of clothes. So it's a really powerful, this concept of an identity. We very often live into the identity that we have of ourselves. So this works in the negative as well as the positive direction. So what I want you to write down, so this isn't in the worksheet at this point. Hopefully you're following through with the worksheet as I talk about it. Or you might want to kind of scroll back and quickly have a look at that. But so maybe either at the bottom of the second page, you can write your statement here about your identity as an artist. So think of an artist that you really love, someone that inspires you, and think about maybe some habits or characteristics that they have. So the example I have here is, I'm an artist, I practice daily. So like the examples I gave earlier, like Nick Cave, a part of his identity is that he practices daily. And because he's made that part of his identity, his behavior follows. So most or all great artists have this as part of their identity. They have an expectation of themselves that they will practice daily because they know that it's so important. That, well, they know that to be an artist, the identity of an artist means that you practice daily. So you might want to fill in a few other things there. I'm an artist. I'm a confident creator. I'm an artist. I share my work to get feedback. Whatever it might be, the ideas of what you think make up a great identity for an artist. Okay, Chinese bamboo story. I'm gonna fly through this, but this is a really great story. And actually, I'm kind of gonna have to go by memory because my notes did not print out. But here we go. So once there was a Chinese farmer, and he started planting bamboo, and someone told him that this is a really great thing to do because the bamboo will sprout, it will shoot up, and from the harvest of the bamboo, he will be set up for life and even generations to come. So he plants this bamboo in this big field, and he starts watering them, and nothing's happening. And so he thinks, okay, well, I'm going to plant these other, plants and vegetables to feed my family whilst I wait for the bamboo to grow. So he's able to feed his family, but he's tending this field. So he's watering it every day. And it goes by and nothing happens. nothing has sprouted. To be a bit worried, he's like, okay, I'm not sure this is going to work out. So he thinks, okay, well, I'm going to keep doing it anyway. So he waters it for a second year, an entire year, every day, and still nothing after 2 years. And the neighbors start, peeking over the fence and, kind of mocking him a little bit, like, what's this guy doing? But he thinks, no, I think this is really important. I think that this is going to work, and it's going to feed me and my family for, decades to come. So he goes out a third year, every day, watering the field, and still nothing. So he goes out a fourth year, and he's watering, and now his family thinks he's nuts. They're like, what are you doing? Can't you see this is not happening? This is not working. It's, you're wasting all your time. You're doing this every single day, and there's nothing to see. There's nothing to show for it. I think you're nuts. So by this time, he's been doing it for 4 years every day. And so now it's a habit. It's a compulsion. He can't really stop. And he has faith. So he carries on, and he does it for a 5th year. And in that 5th year, something quite remarkable happens. So one morning, the people, his family, are woken up by the farmer out in the field early one morning, and he's screaming and he's crying. And they're all thinking, okay, cool, finally he's lost it, and he's going to stop doing this stupid thing. And he's calling them out. He's saying, come on, come over here, come over here. So they come over there, and the neighbors are starting to crowd around. And he says, look down here, look, 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 look. And out of the ground starts to sprout this little bamboo. And so this guy, he's ecstatic, and everyone's like, yeah, whatever. A little bit of bamboo, good on you. What a champ. And then they keep watching, and almost before their very eyes, it starts to grow to 3 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches. Starts to grow up to 1 meter, 2 meters, 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters, 40 meters, 50 meters, 60 meters, 70 meters, 80 meters, 90 meters tall. 90 meters tall, all within 6 weeks. So it's actually 90 feet. 90 meters is a long way. So it's 90 feet. So 90 feet tall in 6 weeks, in just 6 weeks. So he's ecstatic, obviously. And something interesting has been happening. So if you can guess what was happening for those 5 years, I will give you a massive high five. So please tell me if you can guess what was happening for those 5 years. So what happens is, for 5 years, the roots are growing, a massive root system. So the roots go really far, really deep. And then when the root system, the fundamentals are in place, then the bamboo can shoot up. And it can skyrocket because it's based on a really strong root system. So there's a couple of things that the farmer learns by doing this. The key to long-term rewards is daily commitment to action. That when you plant a dream and you tend to it, every day, a little bit, miraculous things really can happen. So it's a really great, inspiring story. There's a part 2 to this story, which I probably won't get around to in this, which I explain in the course, a really exciting part of part 2. Unfortunately, I can't do it right now, but this is a story to keep in mind whenever you feel like a daily practice isn't doing anything. So in this story, there are a couple of things he's learned. One of the things he also learned was not to give up faith. Even when it feels like it's not working or it's not happening, do not give up faith. Once you've planted the dream, tend to it daily. All right, cool. So these are the lessons. So he learned to plant a dream, to take the daily action that would make it a reality, to ignore those naysayers that said it couldn't happen, to push past his own fear and doubt and keep taking action, and to have faith when there's sometimes no reason to have faith, except some guy on a hangout told you something about neuroscience and now you're supposed to do a daily practice. So, but don't believe me, the proof is in the pudding. Put this into action and then you'll know. Okay, all right, so let's make a daily practice. So how do I define my daily practice? So if you go to, I guess it's like the third page, I should put some page numbers on this thing, where it says, let's make a daily practice. How to define my daily practice? This is a really great question to ask. What is the one thing that if you did it all day, every day, would have the greatest impact on your creative practice? So the way that I think about this is I'm a songwriter. So for me, it's pretty simple. My daily practice is songwriting. You know, this is actually not a difficult question to answer. So if you're an illustrator or a painter or a designer of some kind, then your daily practice, I would probably suggest, would be something like drawing. If you're a singer, daily practice would be singing. There are a couple of tricky ones, like if you're a filmmaker, if there are any filmmakers on the call, please tell me what you think your daily practice should be. Actually, I would love everyone to do this, is to write down what you believe your daily practice should be for your craft. So also, I believe that there's a photographer on the call. I believe so. That's also a tricky one, a photography thing. So what that could be is either taking one photo a day. This could even be something on your iPhone. It's really, that could be a practice of refining the way that you look at the world. That could be your practice as a photographer, is focusing the way you look at the world. So yeah, in the chat box, please write down what your daily practice ought to be. So what's the one thing that if you did it all day, every day, would have the greatest impact on your creative practice? So this is obviously not my expectation. I'm not expecting people to do this, but this is a great way to find out what that might be. All right. Okay. Let me just quickly skip back. I want to go in here and, all right. I'm checking the, Katie's here. Welcome, Katie. Awesome. I'm checking the chat box. So I really want to hear from you. I want to hear what your daily practice is. So Angelique, I'm not sure what you have as your daily practice at the moment, but I'm guessing if it's not illustrating, then it probably should be illustrating. Kylie, I believe Kylie is the photographer. I hope I'm not wrong there. So Kylie, yours might be taking one interesting creative photo a day, or even, I mean, that can even put too much pressure on it, but putting a photo on, taking a photo a day. So yeah, please put that into the chat box. I would love to see what you come up with. All right, so let's move on. So let's make a daily practice. So how do I stay focused? So you can download on this page a sheet of these little daily practice cards. So this is what I do every single day. I've been doing this for nearly 3 years, I think. And my daily practice has never, ever, 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 ever been this strong, ever. I used to be able to string a couple of days together consistently. Now it's extremely rare that I don't do a daily practice, and it's usually only if there's something really serious going on. But barring very few exceptions, I have a daily practice every single day. So I want to talk about how this works. So whatever the thing you came up with, so if it was, let's just say it was drawing or illustrating, this is what you do with your daily practice card. So you print it out, you cut it out, and you write on it what your daily practice is going to be. So I'm going to suggest for this week that you keep it to 5 minutes. Unless you're extremely optimistic, you can do more, but really I would highly recommend you only start with 5 minutes, because the first week, it's not really about how much you do, but the frequency. So the habit, we really want to work on the habit more than the amount. So doing 5 minutes, and then on Monday, once you've done your daily practice, another thing is celebrating. I'll explain a little bit more later. But once you do your 5 minutes, you tick that box. And then once you've done your daily practice, I want you to celebrate. I want you to consciously acknowledge your effort and your action. You can do this in a bunch of ways. The way I do it is I do like a yes fist pump, and I acknowledge that I've done it. And I usually say to myself in my mind or out loud, today I took one step closer to my bigger goal or my bigger vision. So celebrating is really important. What it does is it anchors the achievement that you've taken action, and it inspires you, it gets you excited, and it also connects you, it connects the action that you've just taken, even though it's 5 minutes of drawing, it connects it to a bigger vision, and that's really important. So then what you do, Tuesday, you do the same thing. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, do the same thing. 5 minutes. Everyone can do 5 minutes. I have not met a single person in my entire life when I've said, do you have 5 minutes, do you think, to, do a bit of creative work? Like one drawing, or might be 100 words, 200 words if you're a writer. Or if you're a songwriter, play one song. Do you think you could find time to play one song? I've never met anyone who says no. Even people who are extremely busy, but we're going to sort that out very soon. All right, 11 tips to keep you consistent. I'm going to go through these really quickly. Put your daily practice card where you will see it. So I put mine on my laptop. So I touch it about 100 times a day. It's a constant reminder. Start with 5 minutes a day. Consistency is more important than the amount. So the habit is more important than the amount. If you fall off the horse, if you miss a day for some reason, you're ill or you get distracted or you forget for some reason, don't give up the rest of the week. So don't kind of just chuck it in. It's really important. A true artist always makes a comeback. So you get back on the horse as soon as possible. Sometimes what I do is I would try and make it up retrospectively. So if I miss Tuesday, on Wednesday, I'll do double. So that definitely works if it's 5 minutes. If it's an hour of something, it gets a bit tricky. Okay, try to do it the same time each day. So this is about the habit of the time of day, but also this is a learning thing that your body will gear up and your mind will gear up to do it if you do it at the same time every day. The way your body responds when it's waiting for meals or when you do a certain action each day. If you do exercise at the same time every day, your body actually predicts that you're going to do it and it starts to get ready. So it's the same for your creativity. I want you to do it, if possible, same time each day. Know exactly what your practice is. So it needs to be defined. So you need to know how long it's going to be. 5 minutes of drawing. So it needs to be specific so that you're not kind of faffing and just doing random stuff. So 5 minutes of drawing, and that's all that you do. Within your practice, you should have a goal. It will keep you focused. So if it's writing, you might want to, in that writing session, say, I want to write 200 words. Or in a songwriting session, it might be, I want to fix the lyrics in verse 1. So it really focuses your mind, and this is a way of becoming way more productive. Know why you are doing it. So that's about the next thing, which is linking it emotionally to your bigger vision. So connect it to your bigger vision when you're celebrating it and when you're doing it. So because your mind will say, why are you doing this? Why are you doing 5 minutes of writing? It's not going to do much. And then you have to have an answer. And your answer is, well, the reason I'm doing this is because it's connected to my bigger vision of writing my novel, and it's really important for me to do it. 10, celebrate when you've completed it. 11, tick the boxes and get some free dopamine. So I won't go into that, but basically the reason we love to-do lists and taking stuff off to-do lists, like striking something out of a to-do list, is because we actually get a shot of dopamine, which is a brain chemical that makes us feel good, and it tells us to repeat that action, to do that action again. So that's why ticking boxes is really addictive. All right. Okay, so how do I find time to do this? This is a great question. All right, so I get this a lot. This is really normal, really common questions. I work full time. I have a baby. I have other commitments. I've got to look after my mum. I've got 300 cats that I live with. You know, I live far from home, like I work far from home and I travel a lot or whatever. So there are a couple of really quick questions. The first one is, who is in charge of your calendar? So if it's not you, write down what their name is and speak to them and say, can I be in charge of my calendar again? Usually the answer is, I'm in charge of my calendar. I'm in charge of my week. I decide what happens when. Unless, of course, you have a baby and you have full-time work, then a part of your calendar is a commitment to something else. And, you know, having a baby, you can't just say, okay, you can cry between 3 and 4, but, you know, but I'm busy between this time. So totally understand this, but I want you to be really conscious that you're in control of your calendar. Not all of it, but definitely parts of it. The thing about have to versus choose to, if you're using the phrase, yeah, but I have to go to work, or I have to do this, or I have to do this other commitment, I want you to rephrase that language into I choose to. This is a far more empowered place to come from rather than a victim place of, you know, it's not my choice and I have to do this thing. Everything in our lives is a choice. So the thing is that choices have consequences. So you choose to go to work. You could choose not to, but there's going to be a consequence. But it's really important to say, I choose to do this thing. Faff time. How much are you faffing at the moment? So how much time are you spending on social media, other things, random stuff, things that are basically not involved in important work? Do a time budget of this week. So you go through and write out what you did in the last 7 days, how much time you spent doing everything. And this will start to give you an indication of any spare time that you have. When you have to say no to someone, and this is going to be important to do, it's really important to phrase it in a way where you say yes to the person and no to the task. So you can say, I really respect you and I would really like to do this for you, but either I choose not to do that, or I have this other thing planned, so I'm unable to do that. So you say yes to the person, but no to the task. All right. Okay, so look, it's 8 o'clock and I've got more awesome stuff to share, but I feel that we're out of time. So, okay, cool. So at this point, basically, I'd like to ask if people would like me to continue. I think it might go for another, realistically, 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, or whether you would prefer I wrap this up and that's enough for this week. And I may end up just having to come back to other things I wanted to share, which was really about going into prioritizing. So I would like to hear from you. That would be the absolute best thing. So please let me know in the comments whether you'd like 10 or 15 minutes more of this, or whether your brain is about to explode and you can't do any more. All right. So until I hear from people, okay. So Bernadette says, yes, please. Continue, continue. Okay, cool. I'm getting a couple of continues. If you need to go at this point, thank you for being here. If you need to go, I totally understand that. I don't like to go over time because I really want to respect your time and your commitment to doing an hour of this. But I am getting some calls to go ahead. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to jump in. We're going to talk about prioritizing. So this is really, really, really cool. Okay. So prioritizing. This is a great Goethe quote. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. I really love this quote. So things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Okay, so that's really a great way to sum up priorities. What is a priority? So some people might be familiar with this quadrant. So this comes from a Stephen Covey book called The 7 Habits of Successful People, I believe. And this was a huge breakthrough for me in enabling me to prioritize my creative work. So last week we came up with a vision, and that vision becomes important work, or in this quadrant, it becomes critical activities. So I'm going to quickly talk through this quadrant. The first quadrant you see there is important goals. So these are goals. Let me just see. Okay, so these are goals. So you will see on the left axis is importance, and in the bottom is urgency. So you'll see important goals are high in importance, but they are low in urgency. So this is like important goals and certain deadlines that you have coming up. So they're a little bit urgent, but they're very important. So they're things that you need to act on, and usually things you can plan for so that they don't become too urgent. Okay, now this is the quadrant where I think a lot of people live. So this is low in importance and low in urgency. So this is basically distractions. This is faffing around, stuff that doesn't feed anything into your bigger vision or your higher purpose or your higher self, or what your greatest contribution ought to be while you're alive on this planet. This is kind of like junk food for the brain. So Facebook, Twitter, just checking emails constantly, replying really in a really lengthy way to every single email that comes in. And the idiot box, the TV. Very little comes from watching television. There was a study done quite a while ago where they compared two groups. One, they measured people's brain activity. One group was watching TV and another group was staring at a blank wall. And the people staring at a blank wall had higher brain activity than people watching a television, watching the idiot box. So this is a way lots of people numb themselves out using TV. I'm gonna highly suggest that you switch your TV off this week, unplug it from the wall, hide it in the cupboard, put a sheet over it, and try to forget about it. So I'm gonna do the same for Facebook, Twitter, and checking email. So I don't check my email. I generally try not to check it till after midday. So I try to have a productive morning and then check email, because email is very rarely urgent. If it was urgent, it would be a phone call or a knock at the door. Okay, interruptions. So this is random stuff. This is like someone calling and saying, hey, do you want to go out for coffee? And if you don't have a good reason to say no, usually you say yes, and you end up going and doing that. And it's a really beautiful thing to do, but it's an interruption to your, your main mission. Also just random phone calls, coming in all the time. They're interruptions. Critical activities, your art. So the things that come into this this quadrant is really important activities like planning, spending time with family, doing exercise, recreation, growth, anything that has to do with like personal growth and improving as a human being. These are really critical activities to growing as a human being and being able to contribute back into the world and all that sort of stuff. So you will notice that that is high in importance, and actually that should be low in urgency. I've switched those around accidentally. Whoops. So that your art, that should actually be where important goals are. So that's your art. So it's high in importance and low in urgency. That is why it is very difficult to do your creative practice, do creative work, because it's not urgent and there's no one telling you to do it, and there's no one knocking on your door, and there are no alarm bells, and there's no pressure to do it. So that's why doing your creative practice or doing exercise or doing any other kind of personal development stuff or reading as much as you'd like, that's why it's really difficult, is that it's not very urgent to do it, but it is very important. So so the quadrant's a bit messed up, but I want to illustrate this, that we want to cut out all of the distractions, and the time that you save in cutting out all of the distractions in your life can go towards your art. So if you want to think for a moment how much time you spent either being distracted or a part of somebody else's agenda for your time or whatever, and think about how much of that time you could use to work on your art. The same goes for interruptions. So if you didn't have those random phone calls, if you switched your phone off for most of the day and focused on your art, how much more time could you gather there? Same with these kind of emergency and deadline last minute things. The way you can avoid those is through better planning. And the place where you do better planning is that quadrant where it's low in urgency and it's high in importance. Okay, so this isn't, I want to illustrate basically that you probably have way more time than you think, but you may not be using it effectively. So I want to encourage you to cut out the faff for this week and get into doing important work. All right. So this is a picture of a poster that I have on my wall. When I went through this process and I realized the reason I wasn't getting enough stuff done was I wasn't scheduling it. I was spending way too much time just online, random stuff, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, just getting distracted. So I got offline. I would switch the internet off during the day so I could work and not be distracted. I asked myself this question all day long. Why? Why am I doing this activity? Does it align with my bigger vision? You always want to be taking action that align with your bigger, important goals. So all this week, I want you to ask yourself, why am I doing this thing? So, why am I suddenly, out to coffee for the 4th time this week with people? Does this align with my bigger vision? Probably not. Maybe if you're networking or you're hanging out with people who inspire you, then maybe. And then the 4th point, which I keep bringing up, which the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. So this is about just focusing on a couple of really crucial things to do rather than many kind of faffy things. All right. So this week, I want you to make 100% commitment. So now you know how to cultivate supportive habits and why they are integral to creative consistency and success. I want you to make a commitment to yourself to do a daily practice this week. So what I want you to do is when you print out your daily practice card, I want you to write this on the back of it or in the spare spaces. So write your name. I, Bernadette, or I, Katie, or I, Angelique, or I, Naria, make a 100% commitment to do my daily practice this week, no matter what. Okay. And what I want you to do now is I want you to leave a comment in the chat box saying exactly that. So just saying something like this: I commit 100%, or I commit to a daily practice, or I'm in 100%. So doing this kind of public declaration of a commitment is super powerful. And a part of the coaching and the group coaching is accountability. So what you're probably a little bit terrified now in doing this, but once you put the word out, I guarantee you your commitment to following through to your creative practice this week, it's going to go up tenfold. I swear to you, this is such a powerful thing, doing public declarations of commitments, either with a group or, with one-on-one personally or whatever. So please do that now in the chat box. I commit 100%. And I want you to write it on your daily practice card too. All right, so we're nearly done. So extra credit for this week: review the replay, take time to complete the worksheet fully. So go through the replay again if you need to. I want you to write out a list of distractions and interruptions. So you can either do it from memory from the week just past, or this week, keep a sheet handy or a thing in your phone or whatever. And as distractions happen and you get the awareness of it, I want you to write it down. Write down what it is and make it a commitment to remove it for the rest of the week. Same with interruptions. If you're in the middle of something and then you just keep getting interrupted by people, just note that and remember say yes to the person, no to the task if you're being interrupted too much. Work out a strategy to remove them completely this week. So if it's your television, if you want to, take it to the Salvation Army, or the op shop. I'm sure they would love to have an item like that. Make 100% commitment to your daily practice this week. All right, are there any questions? I did see some questions before. All right, so let me have a quick look. Okay, no exploding brains, go on. No, loving it. I don't even know how to turn the TV on. It's been so long. That's awesome, Angelique. I read one of Deepak Chopra's books where he maintains watching TV actually makes one put on weight. I actually heard some research today that this is a bit of a no-brainer, but there's a connection between obesity and children who watch TV, and they're making the connection between all of the food, all the junk food that's advertised, and the habits of people watching the TV. So yeah, if you want to lose weight, that's another benefit of doing the ReAWAKEN My Creative Spark and lose 5 pounds coaching sessions. Get rid of your TV, you're going to lose some weight, and your brain's going to turn back on. So all right. So yes, and quite true. So I found from personal experience, but no more. Okay, cool. So please, I still haven't seen people typing in there that you're going to commit to doing it this week. I really want you to commit to doing your daily practice this week. It's going to be freaking awesome, I tell you. This is really where it's at. This session I got very excited about because I really believe a daily practice is where it's at. Daily consistent steps towards your goals. That's the way we do it. Okay, yeah, so in the worksheet, there's also this table for a list of distractions, a list of interruptions, and the strategy or the action you're going to take to remove it this week. 100% commitment. Okay, awesome. I want to thank all of you awesome legends for being here, being on time, and participating and jumping into the chat box. It really makes it so much better when people do this. Oh, I'm loving this. I'm in 100%. Yes, scared but committed. Awesome, Kimmy. Well done. Anne Marie, I commit 100% to draw every day this week. Love it. I commit to performing my daily practice 100% on a daily basis this week. Amen. Correct. When I figure out what my daily practice will be, I'll be in. Okay, Naria, I'm trying to remember what you do. I can't from the top of my head. But what I would highly recommend is don't be over selective this week if it's going to stop you from doing a daily practice. So really, before you go to bed tonight, work out what your daily practice will be. It's only 5 minutes, and that's all you need to commit to. So whether it's drawing, writing, singing, taking a photo, commit to something before you go to bed. That would be my recommendation. Okay. I like that you're committing to being in though. So I commit 100% on continuing doing my daily practice on card no matter what. Excellent. Angelique, you were telling me recently that you've been jumping back into your daily practice, so that's really great to hear. Cool, Kylie. I commit to, where are you? To make a photo a day. Awesome. My daily practice being yoga and painting, Bernadette. Kylie doesn't own a TV. It's so much better. I haven't owned a TV for about 15 years. The best thing in the world. Okay. What if you find that you are overworking yourself with your daily practice? Okay, cool. This is an awesome question, Angelique. So actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch this back to my screen so you can see me. Well, screen share. Okay, hopefully you can see me now. Hey everyone. Thanks for sticking around. I really am going to make sure we move on from here. Okay, Angelique, great question. If you're overworking yourself with your daily practice, you don't want your daily practice to be freaking you out. You really don't. So I'm going to actually show you a couple of examples of my daily practice cards. Like I said, I've been doing this for about 3 years. So I've got about 150 of these bad boys. So this is my daily practice. This is, I mean, it starts to get more complicated, right? You can start adding more stuff. So this is one from recent. So I've got exercise on there, writing, reading, songwriting, doing creative mindset stuff. And, you know, very often it's a lot of the same stuff, but singing and songwriting is always on there, and I change it around. So here's another one. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to fill these bad boys up with ticks. Another one, another one, another one, another one. Okay, so Angelique, this is an example of a daily practice card that's got totally out of hand. So this is, I was doing a lot of stuff. I ended up creating a daily practice that's about, I think it was like 4 hours of daily practice. It was really huge. This week, I'm not doing 4 hours of daily practice because I moved house today, and it's going to be hard to move house and do a daily practice. But check this out. So this is my actual daily practice card for this week. So you'll see there's exercise, writing, reading, songwriting, and then at the bottom you'll see celebrate. And so today I moved house. I was up very early and I moved house, but you will notice that I have ticked every box this week or today, even though I just moved house and I'm doing a webinar and doing all sorts of stuff. But it's because I'm absolutely committed to a daily practice. Absolutely. It's so fundamental. And if I don't do a daily practice, I start to feel really weird. But what I've done, you'll notice that I've gone from that to that. So in answering your question, Angelique, if your week is totally nuts, do not overcommit. Overcommitting, I like to kind of push people to commit to something, but I'm very often telling people to actually pull back on either their daily practice or their commitments for the week. Because when you overcommit and you stress yourself out and you don't get it done and it's not enjoyable, the following week, you kind of have a bit of self backlash and you also lose confidence. So like I said, one of the benefits of a daily practice is that it builds your confidence. You need it to build your confidence. So you don't want to create it so it's so hard or it's unrealistic that you don't get it done, because a couple of days of that is what we're all used to, which is I want to do a daily practice and you do it for 3 days and you miss a day and then you think, oh, well, I can't do this. So this becomes, I mean, I have a pile of these and these become proof. These are like physical proof that I have a strong creative practice. And for me, what that does psychologically is it motivates me. It tells me I'm awesome at this and that I live into that identity. I am an artist. I have a daily practice. It helps me live into that identity and feel really enthusiastic about my daily practice. So that's answering your question there, Angelique. Okay, Angelique, can only be 5 minutes if it needs to be. Correct. Naria, she's a silversmith. Maybe I'll draw. Maybe I'll draw. Or I commit 100% to drawing. Yeah, if you think that drawing really helps with your craft, then go with that and maybe review it next week. That's what I would say there. Okay. 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 Naria, yep, I'll figure something out tonight. Thanks for the advice. Congrats, Mio. Congrats you, Kylie. Congrats you for being here. Bernadette, wishing you happiness, peace, and love in your new home. Thank you, Bernadette. It's going to be awesome. So next week, I am going to be broadcasting from Gautier's house. So that's where I moved to today. I've just moved down the coast in Australia, in Victoria, down to the peninsula in, yeah, the house that Gautier lives in. But now he's overseas, he's in New York. So I'm moving into his house and I'm going to be recording in his studio. I'm really excited about that. So I'm going to be doing the next session from there, with the next couple of sessions, because that's where I live now. So thanks, Angelique. Thank you, Mio. Very great advice that I will take. I hope that didn't explode too many brains. This has gone super long. It's an hour and a half, but I hope you got heaps out of it. I want to tell you that I'm absolutely committed to helping you in your creative practice. I find this work is really important for artists, and I believe that no one is helping you because I know that no one helped me. I had to try and figure this out myself, and for the majority of my creative practice, my creative life, there was no one there. There was no one there helping me. And when I decided to go out and learn this stuff, and like I said, I spent a ton of money, a ton of time, a ton of trial and error. The stuff that I'm delivering, that I'm showing you, is stuff that works. So I've tried, like, for the stuff that I show you, there's another like 80% of stuff that I've tried that doesn't really work. So this is all like tried, tested kind of stuff. It's well researched. And that's what excites me about sharing it with you. So when you show up and when you participate, I feel really grateful, actually. I feel grateful that I can share this with you and that it helps you. That's it's really something that motivates me a lot in my mission in doing this work. And so thank you for being here. Thanks for participating. Thanks for being keen. Thanks for being awesome. Thanks for being committed to your practice. And from this week, I've cut off any new entrants into this course, into the workshop. So what it means from now on is that we're the team that's going to keep moving forward. And something that I got from my brother, which I really love, he says this about his family, which is one team, one dream. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm kind of linking my arms around everyone that's here at the moment. and I want to carry us all forward to the next couple of sessions. There may be a 6th session where I want to potentially open it up to live question and answer, where you can be on video with me and we can kind of go through some stuff. But yeah, I really appreciate your commitment and for being here. And I'm just going to wrap it up there. So thank you very much. I'm going to be sending you some more questions this week. Please answer those and send them back to me. I'm just going to see what else I need to wrap up with. Let's have a look. Okay, so check out the replay. There's going to be an email coming with the questions for next week, which is going to be all about confidence and inner critic stuff and fear. Really, really powerful stuff that I've got a lot of questions about. So it's going to be really powerful. This applies to every single artist. I have never met an artist who says they don't have an inner critic or self-doubt or whatever. So please be sure to be there and answer the questions on that. Yeah, next week, confidence, self-doubt, being good enough. All right, awesome. Thank you so much for being here. You guys totally rock. We didn't have a glitch this week, so thanks a lot. Feel free to email me any other extra questions or whatever, and I will see you very soon. Okay, so now how do I wrap this up? Have a great week and do your daily practice. Your art matters. It really actually does matter. So go and create. See ya.